Zero Grounds is a free multiplayer FPS where you can float using special zero-gravity areas scattered around the world, allowing you to get to normally inaccessible points on the map and do some cool tricks. In this video, I'll talk about the story behind the game and how we envision the development of the world in the future updates after we release it later this year. The world of Zero Grounds has a lot of parallels to the real world and was actually completely identical before the 1990s, where it started to deviate. In the world of Zero Grounds, space exploration rapidly accelerated in the 90s due to some strange energy bursts coming from the moon detected by satellites. Several countries like the US, China and Russia started funding exploration missions to find out what was causing those energy bursts, and the moon program was back on track. This time, however, everything was happening secretly as scientists and governments were afraid they might stumble upon aliens and wanted to keep public uninformed until they found out more. In the beginning of 2000s, first moon bases were established to allow astronauts to stay for longer periods and study the anomaly. Shortly after, one of the moon bases established by China lost all contact with the Earth, and the fact that it was located on the dark side of the moon didn't help either. In an attempt to investigate this strange incident, a group of international astronauts was formed by the joint effort and sent to the last point of communications. The last bit of information that was received from this moon base was one of the scientists talking about some strange mineral, but then all of the communication suddenly disappeared. In a few short weeks, the expedition finally arrives at the location of the moon base. The members of the expedition are shocked by what they see when the entire base is levitating in the air, along with dead scientists. Shortly after, the astronauts start to feel drawn into a strange field of unknown energy and find themselves in a gravitational trap, which is impossible to get out from, since they have nothing to hold on to and get out of this field. Tragically, the expedition slowly depletes from oxygen but manages to send radio communications to the base explaining what they saw. Shortly after, a secret research group is created and based on the information received from the poor expedition, and they begin to study this anomaly and find out that a special rare mineral called iridium-148, a previously unknown isotope of the rather rare metal iridium, is to blame. Despite the low radiation emission, this mineral, depending on the accumulation in one place, causes gravitational anomalies in the area and manipulates objects of almost any mass, lifting them above the ground and keeping them in a state of weightlessness indefinitely. Since there is no air on the moon, objects captured by iridium-148 have no way to escape from the anomaly. However, astronauts equipped with a jetpack can do this without any problems. Consequently, countries began to send many secret expeditions of secretly trained specialists with the necessary equipment to study zones of zero gravity on the moon. At first, experts were skeptical about the idea of delivering iridium-148 to Earth, as its properties were not well understood and no one wanted to risk contaminating the Earth with a potentially dangerous mineral. However, certain military officials from different countries saw a great deal of potential in using this mineral for military purposes, so a decision was made to bring some of the juicy iridium to Earth. After several months of tense conversations, the alliance of countries decided to build several research facilities across the world in order to study the delivered iridium-148 materials in terrestrial conditions. In 2015, after a brief quiet period in the study of the mineral due to the incredibly high cost of shipping to Earth, astronauts were able to deliver the first samples to the built laboratories. The existence of iridium-148 was still unknown to the general public, but many influential people outside of the government had already managed to learn about it from their sources, so a public announcement remained only a matter of time. To the surprise of skeptics, iridium-148 did not have any harmful properties except for the creation of a local zone of weightlessness, and scientists managed to create entire test sites where they could feel no gravity without leaving the Earth. But let's dive a bit deeper into the mineral itself, which we call iridium-148 in our universe. Due to the presence of the atmosphere on Earth, maneuvering in a zone of zero gravity was much easier than in a vacuum, and during the time of internal experiments, not a single laboratory assistant was seriously injured. Until 2020, a huge number of experiments were carried out, and scientists were able to more or less study the properties of this mineral. Iridium-148 has a weak radiation background. A person without special protection can stay up to 2 hours a day in zero zones without any particular risks. The melting point of iridium-148 is comparable to steel and is about 1400 degrees Celsius. Iridium-148 retains its properties of creating a zero-gravity zone in any state, including liquid and gas states. Iridium-148 does not interact with other components on Earth in any way and is not affected by rust. And the half-life of Iridium-148 is about 4.5 million years. Visually, Iridium-148 resembles titanium, a shiny silver metal. At the beginning of 2020, several years of diligent development in secret laboratories, the countries of the so-called Iridium Alliance, which included the US, China and Russia, managed to build the first serial prototype of a zero-gravity field. Those fields are made of metal structures with Iridium-148 inside and have zero gravity. Consequently, scientists have succeeded in creating completely controllable zero-gravity zones. For several months, those fields were used in many government and military bases for various types of work. These fields were of great help in performing many types of tasks. For example, moving heavy objects was not difficult, conducting important scientific experiments that were previously only possible in space. In view of the phenomenal success of zero-gravity fields, the countries of the Iridium Alliance saw them as a great commercial opportunity. Despite the still secret existence of this technology, rumors and conspiracy theories about the existence of Iridium-148 began to appear on the internet. It was no longer possible to keep all this a secret. In order to show all the cards and present themselves as the pioneers of this technology, and not someone who found them on the moon, the countries of the Iridium Alliance organized an emergency public conference and invited journalists from all countries to announce Iridium-148 to the whole world. On August 17, 2020, Iridium-148 was officially introduced to the world. Information about its discovery was carefully hidden, though. Instead, it was announced that this mineral was developed by a group of scientists in scientific laboratories in the US. This announcement caused a wide stir among the population of all countries, and the financial market showed an unprecedented growth of 24% in just one day after the announcement of this technology. Many experts agreed that humanity has entered a new stage of development, and science fiction has become a reality. The next decade, until 2030, was accompanied by huge financial investments and the construction of many factories to create zero-gravity fields. Since Iridium-148 does not naturally occur on Earth, the Iridium Alliance countries were forced to increase the number of space expeditions to the Moon to bring this mineral to Earth, but it was not possible to publicly disclose the true origins of this mineral due to the fears of disturbance in public, so all those expeditions continued to be secret. By 2032, the number of active zero-gravity fields on Earth has reached 5 million units. They were mainly used by public and private enterprises for building and moving heavy objects, but there were also many amusement parks with zero zones. More advanced scientific methods have made it possible to create gravity fields using less Iridium-148, thereby reducing the cost and frequency of those secret space missions. Geological samples show that about a third of all available Iridium-148 on the Moon was transported to Earth, or about 50,000 tons. At about the same time, a strange phenomenon began to occur on the Moon. Gravity began to increase, and instead of the usual 1.62 meters per second, it gradually began to rise to 4 meters per second, accounting for almost half of the Earth's gravity. This phenomenon shocked scientists, since early studies of Iridium-148 did not give any hint of a global effect on gravity. Later, it turned out that this mineral has a global effect on planetary gravity after about 10 years, but it was too late to correct the situation. The first effects of weakened gravity on Earth began to occur in the spring of 2032, when a passenger Boeing 797 crashed near London due to exceeding the maximum possible flight altitude due to the failure of sensors on board. At first, the examination group referred to the error of the pilots, but a more thorough check revealed that the gravitational force of the Earth had decreased to 9.01 meters per second, which caused the failure of the sensors. Although an ordinary person could not not yet feel the effects of reduced gravity according to subjective sensations, almost all equipment, especially military equipment, turn out to be ineffective due to change in the gravitational force of the Earth. The Iridium Alliance governments tried to hide this incident as much as possible, but it was too late. Many independent scientists from those countries began to tell the real truth about the existence of this mineral. Very quickly, the whole world went into a state of panic and economies of the most countries experienced a severe recession due to the irreversible changes. The authorities of the countries where zero-gravity fields existed attempted to completely deconstruct those fields. However, those attempts were futile since the mineral was not fully destructible even at extreme temperatures. Those events led to large-scale rallies and protests in almost all countries around the world. People felt deceived by governments' blatant promises of entering a new technological era, yet failed to anticipate the catastrophic consequences and deal with them adequately. Iridium-148 was highly valued on the black market immediately after its public announcement in the 2020s, and many desperate people were ready to risk their lives to obtain this mineral and sell it further. To resolve the heated situations and restore order, an international organization was created that included all major countries of the world and those in which there were zero-gravity fields. Despite many disagreements and bad relations between them and the Iridium Alliance, the global catastrophe left no other choice to restore order and prevent even more catastrophic consequences. The Global Disaster Prevention Organization was created and consisted of many departments and employees. Its purpose is to preserve zero-gravity fields, collect Iridium-148 in special containers, and then send this material back into space on special ballistic missiles. The peaceful conservation and extraction of iridium was impossible due to the bandit and looting activity. For such cases, the GDPO created a non-state private military company called Lunar Group. Its goal was to forcibly capture zero-gravity fields and transfer Iridium-148 to the GDPO. Thus, the countries did not stain their reputation with blood, but delegated this task to a fictitious private group. Lunar Group consisted of international mercenaries as well as former and current soldiers of the armies and special forces, who were really forbidden to talk about their main service in order to preserve their reputation. Lunar Group's main opposing force was marauding formation around the world. After the Iridium-148 catastrophe began, the marauders were mostly poorly trained petty criminals who wanted to cash in on a small amount of iridium and sell it on the black market. After a few months, more organized formations began to appear, consisting of more trained and experienced former soldiers from the military who did not like the actions of their government. The incredibly low societal approval of most governments brought out all of the discontent and hatred that ordinary people felt after decades of lies and total control of large companies and states. The realization of the onset of a global catastrophe drove many people into despair, and despite the dubious reputation of marauders and bandits, those formations at least did not lie to people about their intentions. Realizing the opportunity, being on the wave of hatred of the authorities in the mid-2030s, most marauding and bandit formation decided to unite and expand their goals from simple profit from chaos to a targeted fight against the Big Brother in order to overthrow the main elite ruling leaders and creating a more quote-unquote democratic regime that cares about the people. An organization called New Liberation Army made it their main goal to fight against rotten state systems and nepotism, while at the same time keeping Iridium-148 together with its launch into space. And here we come to the present day where the actions of Zero Grounds take place. You will choose to fight for either Lunar Group or New Liberation Army to secure zero zones and stabilize the dire situation of the world. Which faction would you choose and what do you think about the story of Zero Grounds? Leave a comment below and we'll be happy to discuss this story with you. Until next time, have an awesome day.